Alrighty. You are looking live at Sold Out MetLife Stadium, where today the 16-0 and playoff-bound New York Giants will be taking on the 0-16 Arizona Cardinals. And why are the Arizona Cardinals 0-16? Because they suck. Welcome to the Gridiron. Anybody out there at all that's going to spend a little bit of time with me here this evening, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. If anybody's going to spend any time watching the replay, this once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Going to try to go about 30 minutes here tonight. Shoot my mouth off for about 30 minutes. Anybody got anything to say, please feel free, fire away. Throw in the chat box. I usually try to check on the chat box like every 5 or 10 minutes or so. So as soon as I see something in there, I try to respond to it as fast as I can. So please feel free, fire away. Plus, also, in addition, instead of me just rambling on for half an hour, 45 minutes, or whatever it might wind up being, it's just nice to talk to another Giant fan. So please feel free and fire away. Before I get started, if anybody wants to help support my channel out, it would mean the absolute world to me. In the description box below, the top link takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. The first one's called the Saquon. Second one's called the Lawrence Taylor. And the third membership level I got is called the Gridiron. Each one has their own little perks to them, right? So if you want to help support my channel out, it would mean the absolute world to me. I thank you in advance. Thank you. If you are subscribed to my channel, once again, thank you. I can use all the support I can get, guys. But if not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon. That way, next time I go live or put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. What do you got to lose? But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. And then finally, in the description box below, there's 2 Facebook links. The top one takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants Gridiron, but it's a group. Right now, we have over 6,100 members in the group. It's doing very, very well. Basically, what I do is once I get done going live here, I'll spend the next couple hours putting stuff in the Facebook group and in the Facebook page, which I'll go over in just a minute. And, I try to get like 15, 20 different things in the group every day. Now, whether it's a post, a picture, something, maybe a video, an article that I share, maybe it's just something showing some stats on a ball player, something making fun of the Eagles or the Cowboys, which is my absolute favorite. I try to get like 20 things a day. Now the season's upon us. There's a ton of stuff I'm getting in there every day. And not only do I post stuff in there, but if you become a member of the group, the members post stuff in here as well, too. So, there's a ton of stuff every day going in there. Basically, if I have internet access and, and I'm alive and breathing, there's stuff going in here, darn near almost 365. The second Facebook link takes you to my Facebook page. It's called the New York Giants Gridiron, but it's a page. Basically, and I say this on every video, basically my YouTube channel, my Facebook group, my Facebook page, it's all called the same thing. It dumbs it down for a moron like me, right? Now, what's my Facebook group called? What's the YouTube channel called? It's all called the same thing. It makes it really nice and easy for me. And it's the same thing in the page, right? I'm the administrator. I'm going to post anything in there. But, basically it's the same thing as the group. Usually every day I'm getting like 15, 20 different things in the page every day. As I said, whether it's a video, a post, a picture, something just showing some stats on a ball player, maybe sharing an article, once again, something making fun of the Eagles and the Cowboys, which are my personal favorites, right? There's a ton of stuff every day going in there. And I don't commingle the stuff. So basically stuff I put in the page, I don't put in the group. Whatever I put in the group, I don't put in the page. I just try to keep the stuff separate. So between, if you like, and you follow the page and you go to the group and become a member, between the two every day, darn near almost 365, there's a boatload of Giant stuff every day. But you can't please everybody, right? So I got my money back guarantee. If you go to the page and you like it and you follow and you go to the group and you become a member, if you're not 100%, he gets your money back guaranteed. I don't know what stuff said and done that away with. Boy, I'll tell you, it's of course, there's always, as we know, right? There's always the overreaction on Monday. half the people want after the 40-0 debacle, the Dallas debacle. Of course, half the people want everybody on the staff and all the coaches and everything to be fired, and the other wants all the players to get to replace all the players. So basically you got, a little overreaction going on there and everything, and, then as time goes by, the pain of the loss settles down at least a little bit. It's hard to, really kind of hard, 40-0 now. I mean, that's a tough one. 40-0. That's hard to swallow. But now that some of that anyway, the overreaction is starting to simmer down at least a little bit. If you really look at this, I mean, this is a very, very big game for the New York Giants. I'm not saying stranger things happen and all this stuff and everything. So obviously, you don't want to say if they lose this. Obviously, this game here, their season's over. Obviously, so. Stranger things happen, and that's why you play the games, and that's why you play out the season and all of that. But if they can't get a win here on the road against the Cardinals, you gotta start looking. Where are they going to get a win at? Where are we at here? Nope, that's not it. Oh, that's not it. There we go. Here it is. I got 13,000 tabs open up. I mean, obviously, as I said, once again, they get up to play the games. It's a long season. It's not who you play. It's when you play them. You can start playing teams and they're all banged up and this, that, and the other thing. But I mean, they start off 0-2 after the Cardinals. They start off 0-2. Then they got a short week. They're playing on the road against the 49ers. Could they beat the 49ers? Absolutely. You got to play the game. Anything can happen. Anything can happen to the 49ers. They can get a bunch of guys banged up or whatever. You know what I mean? It is what it is, right? But then they got to come back and they got to play, the Seahawks at home. Now, the Seahawks didn't really look that dynamite against the Rams this past weekend. Actually, the Rams, I think, shut them out in the second half. So even with their offense, right? They drafted a wide receiver in the first round. They had to lock it, and who was injured, who got injured in the second half there, I believe, and Metcalf. They only scored 13 points. I mean, the Rams, they came to play, and they did very well. But I mean, once again, you can't take anybody lightly. But I mean, they have the Dolphins. I mean, if you saw the Dolphins against the Chargers, I mean, their offense was looking really good. Really, really good. Then we got to play the Bills. Obviously, the Bills lost to the Jets, but on the road against the Bills. Then we have to play the Commanders. Can never overlook the Commanders. Then, of course, then we got to play the Jets, who now, obviously Aaron Rodgers won't be there, but they got Wilson. They managed to beat the Bills. You got the Raiders, and again, we have to play the Cowboys, right? And if we can't beat the Cowboys, it's really hard to imagine us beating the Eagles, unless the Eagles just all of a sudden started getting injured. Now, of course, the Eagles are winning tonight. I think they kicked a 67-yard field goal or some long field goal. Jefferson got the ball down like the 1-yard line, I believe, and I think he fumbled the ball out of the end zone. So that took basically 7 points off of the board for the Vikings. So basically, the Eagles are lucking out tonight. Actually, I can't freaking despise that freaking team. So once again, it looks like everything's going the Eagles' way once again. But if we haven't beaten the Eagles last year, I mean, what do you think we're going to do this year? We got to play the Patriots, we got to play the Saints, right, and the Rams, But I mean, what do you think how many games do you think we have to win to make the playoffs, right? I mean, if we got 9-8, you think we're going to make the playoffs at 9-8? I mean, we start off 0-3. We're going to ramble. We're going to go 9-5 again. We got to play the Cowboys and we got to play the Eagles 2 times. And I mean, it's just this game here. I mean, as I said, once again, you always play the games. That's why they play the games and all this stuff and everything. But you start off 0-2. Let me tell you what, boy. I'll tell you what. You think the negative Nancy's are because it didn't really it didn't really happen too much last year because we started off to that nice lead. Then we started losing some to some better competition. Although we beat the Titans, we beat the Ravens, we beat the Packers, right? Of course, we couldn't beat the Cowboys, we couldn't beat the Eagles, right? But, we started stumbling a little bit in the second half, but we still always had a winning record. And, when we put the nail in the coffin, we finally beat the Colts, we made the playoffs, winning record, playoffs, all this stuff and everything. We were 9-6-1 going in against the Eagles. We didn't need the game, and we were 9-6-1. So, right. So, as far as, of course, there's always when we started losing some games in the second half, it was always obviously the media, there's some questions, and all that and everything. But as I said, we started off strong, started off fast, right? We beat the Titans, the Ravens, the Pack, So we beat some decent teams early on. We always had the winning record and everything like that. But you start off 0-2. And then, and then, of course, then you go on the road and you might have to wind up losing to the 49ers. And then you start off 0-3. Man, what do you think they're going to start saying? They're going to start making some comparisons to some either McAdoo, Shermer, or Judge. Right? So this is an absolute huge game for the New York Giants. Absolute huge game. All right, let's see here. Now, let's go over here. All right, now, going over the Cardinals defense. I seen this article here. Well, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It goes in some depth and detail. I seen some of the game last week on the YouTube TV, the Sunday Ticket. But it's kind of tough. I had wound up with 7 games on. I had my computer up. There's 4 games on the TV, and a computer. I had 2 phones, so I'm trying to watch 7 games at once. With the Sunday NFL Ticket on DirecTV, it was a little bit better because they had 8 games up at one time. It was all on one screen. Still tough to follow 8 games, but there were times during the 8 games where maybe 4 of them were on commercials. Or 3 of them on commercials where somebody called a timeout, so you maybe only had 4 games playing. So maybe you could follow along a little bit easier. It was always difficult, but last week it was pretty tough because I had 4 on the TV screen, and then I had a little table set up, and I had the computer, and I had 2 phones I'm watching. So I'm watching a couple games here and popping over there, watching those 4. So it was a little tough to follow all the games. But I got a chance to watch a little bit of the the Redskins and the Cardinal game. It was a very close game, right? The Cardinals defense, they scored on us on a defensive play. So their offense didn't score at all touchdown wise. But the Cardinals had a lead going into the fourth quarter, and the Commanders pulled it out in the fourth quarter. It was an entertaining game. It wasn't. I'll tell you, if you're looking for offense, that was not the game. What do we have? The Cardinals had total yards. The Cardinals had 210 yards, and the Commanders had 248. So basically, it was 458 total yards in the whole game between the two teams. So if you were looking for offense, that was not the game to watch. But still, it was a close game, entertaining game. Anything close, it was always entertaining, right? But the one thing that was kind of impressive was the Cardinals' defense. Now, of course, Jonathan Gannon, right, their new head coach, came over from the Eagles, who was the defensive coordinator for the Eagles the past 2 seasons. So not only, obviously, he's the whatever you want to say, the orchestrator or conductor or whatever you want to call it of the Eagles' 1,742,000 sacks that they had last season. So he knows a thing or two, all right? And not only does he know a thing or two, he knows a thing or two about the Giants, right? Because he played them, 5 times, 3 times last season and 2 times the year before. So, right? Even when we beat them 2 years ago, we only scored 13 points against them. We beat them 13-7. We scored 13 points. So the Giants have not really done very well against their defenses. And that was the one thing that kind of did stand out last week. was, how the Cardinals defense kept them in the game, because their offense was not really, with their quarterback, what was it, Josh Dobbs. I'm sorry, I was going to say Downs. Josh Dobbs. He did not do a. See, what do we got here? Or shall I say Joshua Dobbs? What was he? 21 out of 30. But, 70% completion percentage. But Zach Ertz led the team. He had 6 catches for 21 yards. So they were they did not put him in harm's way, basically. Very short. Well, so we got 30 passes. He averaged 4.4 yards a pass attempt, which is absolutely, really ridiculously low. You want to be around 7. He was at 4.4, which is really, really low. He had no touchdown passes, but he had no interceptions, right? So you don't want to say game manager or nothing like that, but he did. He put the ball on. I think he got hit a couple of times and he fumbled the ball a couple of times. But as far as throwing the ball, he was 21 out of 30. And you can look at it also in one way. I believe when he got, let's see here. How many times did he get sacked? Because I know the Cardinals sacked Howell. Was it 6 times? I think it was. I got to find her sack. Yeah, 6 times. Now, Dobbs was sacked 3 times. Okay, so basically, I believe that's when he fumbled the ball, was when he was getting sacked. I didn't watch all the game tape and all that and everything, but they fumbled. Let's see here. 6. You're gonna see if it's got fumbles. Oh, they lost 2 fumbles. So that was one of the problems. But he put it on the ground. That was when maybe he got hit. He got sacked. The problem with that is that we didn't touch Dak Prescott when he had the ball. We hit him a couple times, but that was after he had the ball. So if we're looking to, okay, we'll get pressure on Dobbs, and when we sack him, right, take him to the ground, we'll punch that ball out. We're going to get it going the other way. Well, the problem with that is you got to sack somebody. And that's certainly not saying we're not going to sack anybody, but, last week was the third week in a row, third game in a row against the Cowboys where we did not sack the quarterback. I mean, this would be a good game, especially Dobbs. This would be his 4th game. He's actually been in the league for quite a few years, but this would be his 4th start ever. He started 2 before he came to the Commanders this year. Let's see here. I think that his 2 starts might have been. I think his 2 starts were last year. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, with Tennessee. Yeah, it looks like I think his starts were last year with Tennessee. Yeah, he was 40 out of 68 last year for Tennessee. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So, but I mean, he's been in the league for a little while. 2017, around 2017, he got picked in the 4th round from Tennessee. But this should be a good game here for Wink to start dialing some stuff up. Now the thing is, when you start dialing up against Dak and the good offensive line and the good weapons and all, what they said to do with Zach was, a couple steps, boom, get the ball out kind of quick. They did have the one pass play when like Adoree Jackson seemed to get picked, but it was, nothing really far. They tried to get the ball out of his hands reasonably quick so the Giants couldn't get to him. This might be a good time here, this game here, for Wink to just start unleashing some of the dogs and just start putting some pressure on him and really hound the heck out of him. Maybe we can, fluster him. Maybe get him to throw a bad ball. Maybe if he holds on to the ball, if nobody's out, maybe we can hit him, sack him, maybe get him to fumble the ball and all. But their defense is what really kept them in the game last week. Let's see. The strength of the Cardinals defense is likely up front on the edge. Although there are no overwhelming positives on this roster, Zaven Collins, and, I'll tell you what, when they drafted Collins and they had Simmons, I'm like, okay, they got themselves 2 young stud linebackers, and they got Buda Baker. I love saying that name. So they got some pieces here to start working around and all, but yeah, Simmons is gone, so Collins is still there. Collins was from Tulsa, I believe it was. But he's the primary edge defender, and they got a couple other guys. Gardeck they got a couple of guys rotating on the opposite side. Gardeck is one of them. Gardeck, they're better pass rushers on the edge than Collins is. While Collins is the versatile option, we'll discuss in the scheme section here. So this is from, who is this here? Who did this here? Brandon Olson. This is from SI. Let's see. Gardeck broke out in 2020 as an exceptional pass rusher on limited snaps. Now, this is pretty impressive. Gardeck, for the Cardinals, he had 18 pressures on just 79 opportunities. That's freaking phenomenal. And has impressed as a rusher ever since. Last week, he had 3 pressures with 2 sacks on just 15 opportunities against the Commanders. I mean, that's some freaking phenomenal numbers right there. In the second level, they got Kaiser White, who followed Gannon from Philadelphia to continue playing in the defensive system, where he's found the most success in his NFL career. So, with Kaiser White, hey, I did pretty good in Philadelphia. Let me follow Gannon, and that way, hopefully, I'll continue to do well. Josh Woods is his running mate at inside linebacker, although saying he leaves a lot to be desired would be a massive understatement. I expect Barnes to see more playing time this week. See, I'm not very familiar with all their players. That's why I like to read articles like this. The secondary is incredibly young at cornerback with experience at safety. Rookie 6th-round pick Clark is starting on the boundary opposite Marco Wilson and Buda Baker and Kevon Wallace are the starting safeties with Jalen Thompson playing mostly out of the slot. It says the corner duo is relatively small, as Clark is 5'10" and Wilson is 5'11". That's not too big. So they did a good job in week 1 of limiting the Commanders' receivers from bullying them or creating separation, although Wilson did give up 37 yards on defensive pass interference. So the defense needs reliable safety play, and they got just that from Baker and Wallace. Wallace also came to the Cardinals from the Eagles under Gannon's command. With this system, the safeties are relied upon to read, react, and attack from their own spots, while also help defenders in every facet of the game. Their scheme, under the combination of Gannon as head coach and Nick Rallis as a defense coordinator, the Cardinals have some slight changes from their days together as with the Eagles. The defensive front is less of a 4-down defensive front and more of a hybrid 4-2-5, meaning there are more 3-4 principles up front. Now, they fly around to the ball. They were hitting hard last week. They were really hitting hard. And they were flying around to the ball. And you get around the ball, you hit hard, things can happen. So the Giants have to be very, very careful. And plus, they said they got 6 sacks on the Commanders last week. So the Giants gave up 7. Actually, it was 9, but 2 of them got nullified by penalties. So, they're going to have to be careful. They're really going to have to be careful in this one. The Cardinals don't blitz very often, but when they do, every player but the far field cornerback is an option as a rusher. So basically, the linebackers, the safeties, almost all the cornerback, everybody is eligible to come in on the blitz. So against the Commanders, though, the Cardinals brought an off-ball linebacker on blitz on 13% of the pass defensive snaps, while blitzing a safety 10.8% of the time. So they don't, not very often. But it also goes to show you that they were getting home like 4-man rush. So if they're getting home in a 4-man rush and they decide to send another 1 or maybe even 2, that could really spell trouble for the Giants. It says what this means for the Giants. The Giants' offensive line is unimpressive. Yeah, you can say that. And their most impressive offensive lineman has a hamstring problem. and they're going against an equally unimpressive Cardinals defensive interior this weekend. However, I would still expect the Giants to be able to win that battle in the trenches. Well, let's hope so. Running the football outright with Saquon Barkley should be a focal point, but trying to operate the zone read should help open up this rushing attack. Giants' offensive line was simply outplayed against Dallas. You can say that again. But they also found success on the first drive, perhaps signaling their potential to create rushing lanes. Well, on that first drive, right? I mean, they ran the ball, okay, successfully. But let's not also forget some of the runs were Daniel Jones scrambling out of the pocket. They didn't complete one pass, I don't think, on the first drive. So, yeah. So when he did drop back the pass, some of it turned successful. That's because the Cowboys maybe rushed up the field and left a lane open for Daniel Jones, and he exploited it. But I don't think he completed a pass on the first drive at all. Let's see. Perhaps signaling their potential to create rushing lanes. Jones' versatility will always be his biggest strength, regardless of his improvements as a passer, because his mobility is just that threatening. But needs to know when to get down. If somebody's within like 3 yards of you, within 10 feet of you, get down. Cardinals have a young, small cornerback duo in Clark and Wilson. While both corners are physical at the line of scrimmage, there was every time to lean on Darren Waller playing out wide. Yep. You got 6'6" Waller going up against a 5'10", possibly cornerback. Oh, yeah. Advantage Waller. Big time. 8-inch advantage. Oh, yeah. Let's see here. The inside linebackers for Arizona were relatively unimpressive against the Commanders, allowing completions on the interior almost at will. Sam Howell went 11 for 16 with 134 yards when targeting the middle of the field, shorter than 20 yards downfield. So, right over the middle of the field, short, right? Maybe a slot, or maybe Darren Waller can exploit that. So, which is good. 11 out of 16 for 134 yards. There's no reason Jones shouldn't be able to find similar success over the middle, but they have to protect. Says final thoughts. When Gannon was defensive coordinator for the Eagles, his defense was as intimidating as possible. However, a big reason for that was due to his defense allowing him to play a bend but don't break style with elite players both along the defensive front and in the secondary. Yeah, you know what I mean? You give them a crappy defense, but I mean, as I said last week, they only gave up like 250 yards. They gave up 20 points on the road. The Commanders are not an offensive juggernaut, but the defense did well, and they scored the only touchdown of the game for the Cardinals. So, once again, you can't take anybody, too lightly. That's why you play the games, right? All right. Let's see here. Now this one here. Oh, it's what order do I have this in here? Oh, okay, good. All right, there we go. Yep. Cowboys mocking the Giants. Now, I'll tell you what, I really hope somewhere along the line, that they play this video or they put it up and make it bulletin board material or something like that. They were making fun of the Giants pass blocking, and they were using like the Oprah Winfrey. You get a car and you get a car and you get a car. Well, they were Odigizua, I believe his name is. He was talking about, and you get a sack and you get a sack and you get. They were making, and also DeMarcus Lawrence was urging his defensive mates to make the Giants. He said, but he put the F word in there. He's like, let's make these bleeping guys or something quit before halftime. So I'm going to play this here for you. See if you maybe you can hear this here. Oh, let's see, it's going to play. Oh, hold on. Okay, hold on. I got the volume turned off. You hear Lawrence taking his helmet off. He's like, let's make these mother effers quit before halftime. And he's like looking down the line. He's like, let's make these guys, let's make them quit before halftime. And basically, that's pretty much what they did. And then Odigizua was saying, like, and you get a sack, and you get a sack, and if you look under your chair, you pull it out, and you get a sack, and everybody gets a sack. So they were. It was the Oprah Winfrey's most famous audience giveaway, in which audience members received a brand new car. But let's see here. What else we got here? Not that the Giants needed any additional incentive to get back at their division rivals, who have won 12 out of the last 13 meetings against them. However, the Cowboys' gleeful antics are sure not to be appreciated by a Giants team that was thoroughly embarrassed on national television. But because we know the Giants don't see the Cowboys again until week 10 when they visit Jerry's World. By then, both teams should be further settled in, though, for the sake of the Giants, and in particular, their offensive line, which finished dead last in pass blocking efficiency at 67%. Per Pro Football Focus, and tied for the Bears for the most pressures allowed in week 1 with 25. God. Let's hope that the unit has an answer to keep the Cowboys from a repeat performance. So, I mean, I hope they take that, and wind up, putting it up like on a bulletin board material or something, because that's something, Jonathan Casillas was on Big Blue Kickoff Live. He was a little annoyed. He was kind of a little ticked off that he didn't see any Giants like fights or anybody going out swinging or something like that or whatever, especially he said, I think it was after Daniel Jones threw one of his interceptions. I think he got toward the sideline or something like that. I don't know, but he said Parsons pushed him out of bounds. It was legal, but it was close. And nobody, none of the offensive linemen he's complaining, like, ran over and started something with Parsons or when there was, when the first drive, when Daniel Jones, ran and he slid down and it was that late hit and, they threw the flag. Well, a couple of guys went over, I think they said Bredesen or Michael Schmitz was there, and it kind of like somebody said something to the guy, I think it was, and somebody helped Daniel Jones up. But what Jonathan Casillas was talking about was, where's somebody, getting up in their face, saying something. I mean, just, getting in their face. And he said maybe throwing a punch, or maybe not throwing a punch, but a push or something like that to let them know this ain't happening, brother. That's our quarterback. Stay the F off of our quarterback. He was a little disappointed about that. And, I mean, the Giants continued to get pushed around. And even, it was just, I mean, nothing went right. Just, it was just embarrassing. And you don't see, you didn't see anybody out there, I don't know. I mean, somebody needed to get mad or something, do something. It's okay. We lost 40-0. Okay. All right. Okay. We'll go in the locker room now. The game's over. And, I mean, somebody's got to say something or get mad or something. And Jonathan Casillas was a little disappointed. He didn't see that. He's kind of hoping that maybe things will change a little bit, because, you don't have that. They were talking about when Nick Gates was here. Now, Nick Gates would, I don't know, maybe not swear or something, but if something happened to his quarterback, he's over there getting in your face. Now, remember, he got a little tussle with Aaron Donald, right? It was a couple of years ago. It didn't matter who it was. He would get in your face. He was the policeman, so, I mean, if you did something or you were getting close to the quarterback or whatever it was, he was going to let you know. Giants don't seem to have that, they don't seem to have that. It was just, just a little disappointing, it does have the, have somebody or two or whatever, I mean, the Cowboys, they got them. They got dogs, right? They got guys that, willing to talk to you and punch you in the face and everything like that. Giants don't. I mean, soft. Even Leighton Vander Esch, he said that, I can't remember if it was last year or it was 2 years ago, and he was right. He's straight up right. He said the Giants are soft. I said, I think it might have been 2 years ago when we were playing. Judge was the coach. He said, usually, at the end of the game, I'm like battered. You know what I mean? Because he's in the middle of the line there, like every play, he's contact. He's either fighting off a a center coming to the second level, or he's trying to take on a guard or fill a gap or making a tackle or running after a receiver, something, whatever. I mean, but usually, most plays Van Der Esch is he's in contact with somebody. He's like, a lot of times, like at the end of the game, he's not saying other teams are cheap or nothing, like cheap shots or nothing. But usually at the end of the game, especially where he plays, I'm feeling kind of battered. He's out there, whatever, 40, 50, 60 snaps, whatever. He's like, man, I know I've been in the game. He's like, when I play the Giants, I just don't get that feeling. He said they're kind of soft. And he's right. He's right. Truth hurts sometimes. You know what I mean? We don't have anybody there get in your face. Right. I mean, I don't see the, obviously this is the, different time and different players and different period and all that, different coach and whatnot. And I get things are different, but back in the 80s, the guys would, pile, hold them up, hold the runner up. The other 10 guys want to come over and say hi to the running back. We want to pile on. Everybody want to get a shot. I mean, it's I don't know. Certainly don't want to call it pansy ball, but I mean, we just don't seem to have that. It's a little disappointing. We got some good players on, defense. I know we want to be smart, tough, and dependable, and I get that and all and everything, but we just don't seem to have that dog. Somebody's going to be willing to get in your face. And it's just a shame because I mean, if you can't get in the Cowboys' face, I don't know whose face you're gonna. Right? I mean, if you can't get up and get all fired up to play the Cowboys, who just keep kicking your butt time in, time out. I mean, I don't. Just a shame, just a shame. But hopefully the Giants use that as like bulletin board material or something like that. Hopefully, maybe the offensive line looks at that. I know we got the injury report. It says Waller says he'll play, and the running back Connor for the Cardinals, he's limited again with his calf. So I mean, the Connor would be leaning on Connor. I think they said he had 14 carries for 62 yards, and he had another 5 receptions. So, so he had almost like 20, and I'm sure they threw the ball to him maybe another 1 or 2 times. So, they didn't have the ball a lot, right? They only had 210 yards total offense, but he had close to 20 touches. So, there's a good chance, if he can go, he's going to be kind of their workhorse for him. But of course, now he's got a calf. I said, if he has a problem with the finger, or maybe it's, whatever, I don't know, a shoulder or something, he can at least run. But you got a problem running, that's a problem. I mean, with your calf, that's a problem. That hurts your running. But once again, so he was. What we got? He was limited in practice, so we're going to have to keep an eye on him. LJ Collier and Josh Woods, they did not participate in practice. Beecham, Connor, and Fatu, I think it is. They were limited in practice. But Connor, he's been limited the past couple of days. So I mean, as I said, he's a good chance. He's carried the ball quite a few times. So I obviously have to keep an eye on that. It says the only integral player on it is running back James Conner, who's limited due to a calf issue for the second straight day. Let's say LJ Collier, who finished second in snaps for the season opener that featured a rotational approach for that group, did not practice because of a bicep injury on Thursday either. So. But they only have they got 5 guys listed. The Giants as a 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, they got 11. Oh, they added Sterling Shepard. It was a rest day. That's all. So, but Waller said he's going to practice. He's going to play. So that's good. Though he's got like a nerve issue with his causing possibly his hamstring problem. So let's see here. Obviously, Andrew Thomas tested his injured hamstring on Thursday as the Giants practice in preparation for Sunday's game against the Cardinals. Thomas, who was injured in Week 1 loss to the Cowboys, did not practice on Wednesday. Thomas was a limited participant. Daboll said, see what he can do. Said before practice, he's a tough guy. He said he wants to come out and do some stuff and see how he feels. Good to have him out, see how much he does. Edge defender Azeez Ojulari, dealing with his own hamstring issue. Soft tissue injuries, Azeez Ojulari. Absolutely amazing. He was also limited in practice as he tested what he was able to do. Ojulari was injured on a one-on-one rep during practice on Wednesday. So, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Sterling Shepard, being managed after suffering his torn Achilles tendon and a torn ACL in the last 2 seasons, received a Veteran Day rest. That's good. And practice squad cornerback Amani Oruwariye carted off the field on Wednesday and hospitalized briefly for testing due to a neck injury. Did not practice on Wednesday, but Daboll did say Oruwariye was in the building with the team, so that's good. He's not in the hospital. He's with the team. Now, once again, it doesn't mean, he's fully healed or whatever, but it's very nice to know, thankfully, as I say, because, you don't want nobody getting injured. I'm so happy, that he seems okay. So that's good. Oruwariye, but he's on the practice squad, so you don't even know if he was going to get called up or not, but at least he's okay. So good for him. All right, and then finally, oops. All right, we got, what did the Giants learn? Oh yeah, well, I mean, we could be about here. We could be here about 9 years going over what did the Giants learn from their blowout loss to the Cowboys. Now, so this is, I got my own views that I'm going to put in. It's from Ed Valentine. All right, so this is a Big Blue view. Oh yeah. Let's see here. Perhaps the better question, though, was whether or not the Giants could build on their unlikely 2022 success and show in 2023 that they were moving closer to becoming one of the NFL's big boys. But unfortunately, a 12th loss in 13 times to one of those big boys, the Dallas Cowboys, especially in an embarrassing blowout that was over when I reached 16-0 before the game was 13 minutes old, says probably not. The Giants acted during the offseason like a team that expected to ascend. They gave Daniel Jones a relatively big contract. They traded for Darren Waller. They signed Bobby Okereke. They traded for Isaiah Simmons. They traded for Boogie Basham. They gave Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas big money. Oh, yeah. Giants went all in on last year, believing that the foundation of his success was in place and they just needed to add pieces to it. And obviously, they still needed pieces. It's still a work in progress. It's not, they're not have a Super Bowl team here. But, I think we all feel that the Giants improved their roster over last year without question. And let's not forget about, their draft picks as well, too. Trey Hall, they got their 2 starting cornerbacks, right? They have Hyatt. They got their starting center. So let's not forget about the good draft that they had as well, too. So we added some more pieces to the puzzle. That is for sure, without question. Sunday's results certainly calls all of that into question. The NFL's best teams, the Cowboys, Eagles, Chiefs, the 49ers, Bills, and the Dolphins among teams didn't get there overnight. After a decade of bad football, the Giants won't either. Now, here's one thing we learned. Games are still won in the trenches. Oh, yeah. Yes, the NFL is a passing league. Yes, the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and sometimes the running backs get the glory, even if running backs don't get the paychecks. Games, though, are still generally decided by the behemoths at the line of scrimmage, the offensive linemen and the defensive front seven. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Sunday against the Cowboys, the Giants did not measure up on either side. You have likely seen the numbers. While Jones was being turned into one of giant bruise by the Cowboys. The Cowboys 7 sacks and 12 hits, a bunch of scrambles to avoid sacks. Dak Prescott was virtually untouched. Absolutely freaking pathetic. He was never sacked. He was hit just 3 times in 24 dropbacks. Very, very, very sad. Dallas has 15 sacks of the Giants quarterbacks to 0 for the Giants in their last 3 meetings. That is absolutely pathetic. Their offensive line, we know that the problem for the Giants is really the right side of the offensive line. 17 pressures allowed from that side, 8 by Glowinski and 9 by tackle Evan Neal. Big Blue Views, Nick Filato did a great job breaking down the issues Glowinski and Neal had on Sunday. We will discuss potential personnel changes a bit later. We know, though, that the pass protection from the right side of the line was a potential trouble spot for the Giants in 2023. It was a problem last season, and the same two players are in the same spots this season. So, what do you think? The meaning of insanity, keep doing the same thing and expecting a better result. Now, to Evan Neal's credit or whatever, he's just a baby. He's 22 years old. He still hasn't even played 17 games yet. Still hasn't played a full season. You got to let the rookies play, right? So, you kind of hoping, that, even who knows, even if he doesn't wind up being the eventual right tackle, the starter for the next 10 years for the Giants, and they have to move him into guard or whatever, you kind of hope and expect that he gets better. He hasn't even played a full season yet. And you got, not many guys can, not many offensive linemen you can just add water to. And okay, there you go. Go get him. Become a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to take your lumps. And unfortunately, taking your lumps, is going to cost you some games. And unfortunately, costing you some games, taking your lumps with the bad offensive line or guys that got to work their way up to becoming decent, going to cost you a few games. And unfortunately, if it costs you too many games, it costs you the season because you don't make the playoffs. Let's see. I don't think we learned anything about the line on Sunday that we didn't already know. We knew Glowinski was a subpar pass protector. Yep. We already know it will be a shocker if this isn't his last season as a Giant. I would be absolutely shocked if they brought him back next season because they can get out of his contract after 2 years. They have a little bit of dead money that they'd have to pay next season, but I would be absolutely freaking shocked if they brought him back next season. One thing I do have to acknowledge about Neal, I believe Filato is likely correct in his analysis that Neal might be as athletic as we thought coming out of Alabama. His footwork, balance, and ability to redirect don't look like a player who is a smooth athlete. Can he trust his technique enough to overcome those things? Defensive front seven, as creative as defensive wing Martindale can become in scheming pressure, sometimes players just have to win. Dexter Lawrence was his typical dominant self on Sunday. Leonard Williams, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Azeez Ojulari, and Isaiah Simmons with question marks after that. As quiet as church mice. Not a single pressure from any of them. Let's be realistic. Thibodeau is not Micah Parsons. Ojulari is not Von Miller. They are, though, highly drafted, talented, athletic edge defenders who need to be impact players. I think they both will be, but to get there, you have to make plays against the good teams, not just against the mediocre ones. And in Ojulari's case, you have to stay healthy to make those impact plays. And Ojulari can't seem to stay healthy. He can't make the club in the tub. Thibodeau in particular needs to give the Giants more. Calling him a bust right now is silly, but the Giants can't compete with good teams unless their supposed impact players actually make an impact. Thibodeau has to be one of them. I mean, the guy who's picked number 5 in the draft, he needs to, you just can't show up against the poor teams. You can't get your sack and this. I mean, he did against the Ravens last year. He caused the fumble at the end of the game, and of course he got that touchdown. But it'd be nice to see him with a nice play against the Cowboys or a nice play against the Eagles. We played him 5 times last year. Nice to see an impact play. Let's see. It says more NFL games are lost than won, which is true. How did the Giants win many of their games last season? By grinding them out, keeping games close, not turning the ball over, or committing ill-timed, costly penalties. They hung around, then pounced on late-game mistakes by their opponents. What happened Sunday? The halftime score was 26-0, and 20 of those points were a direct result of mistakes by the Giants. And you can even go farther than that. You can look kind of like that one field goal They got blocked and run back for a touchdown. Now, I think that the Cowboys missed the extra point on that one. I think, if I'm not mistaken. But you can almost look at that, right? That the blocked field goal, I'm just throwing it out there. Like the Cowboy, I think they missed the extra point. I'm just give them 7 points. But you can almost look at that as almost like a 13-point play right there. Not saying it would have saved the game or anything like that. I'm not saying the Giants we certainly would have won if that. No. But because the Giants quite possibly, it was it wasn't that short after the false start by Andrew Thomas and the bad snap by Michael Schmitz. It was a 40-something yard field goal. But once again, in better weather and all of that, you'd have to feel pretty good about Cano making it. But it got blocked. So Cano missed the field goal because it got blocked. So quite normally he would make that field goal. So bear with me here. So that's 3 points for the Giants. However, it got blocked. It got run back the other way for a touchdown, which basically caused once again, bear with me here, 7 points. Although I think they missed the extra point. So that's almost like a 10-point swing right there. But of course, because nothing went right for the Giants and everything went right for the Cowboys that night, Graham Gano got cleated on his kicking foot. Well, I don't know if he was running after the block ball or running after the guy who picked it up, ran back for a touchdown, but he got injured on that play. So did that injury cause him to miss the field goal? It was like a 36-yard field goal, and he missed it. I mean, we don't really expect that. And I don't think it was that windy. I think it blew it wide. I mean, obviously it was horrible weather and all that, I guess. But did his injury, getting his foot hurt, his kicking foot, did that cause him to miss the field goal? So, I mean, so you can kind of look at it. He was saying there, the Giants' mistakes cost him 20 points. But, I mean, I said, you take those 20 points off the board, right? The Cowboys have 6 points. Well, the Giants make those 2 field goals, it's 6-6. Different ball game. Let's see here. The Giants reached the Cowboy 8-yard line on their opening drive. For there was a false start penalty by Andrew Thomas. Bad shotgun snap by Michael Schmitz. Blocked field goal return for a touchdown. Instead of potentially being 7 up, they were down 6-0, a 13-point swing. Instead of being, that too. Because it was 3rd down and 2. And then Andrew Thomas was offside, and that was 3rd down and 7. And then, of course, with the bad snap, they had no chance in heck of making anything. Daniel Jones just had to cover up the ball. So basically, they're almost right there, almost a 13-point swing. It's 6 points the other way, but instead of the Giants going up 7, but then I said then Graham Gano getting stepped on, did that help him miss that field goal, that other one? So it could be possibly a 16-point swing play right there. 16 points. Trailing 9-0 and facing a hopeless 3rd and 19, Jones dumps a harmless pass to Saquon Barkley. Trevon Diggs separates the ball from Barkley. The Cowboys return the interception for a touchdown. Now it's 16-0. The game is over. That says here in the article. Early in the second quarter, a flustered Jones forgets he's not Patrick Mahomes and throws an ill-advised across the body against the green pass that is picked off by Stephon Gilmore at the Giants' 38-yard line. Cowboys, of course, capitalize a few plays later with a touchdown to make the score 26-0. Talk about the talent gap all you want. The Giants dug that 26 hole with their own mistakes. They have to hope that that type of sloppy performance was a one-time thing. Yes, I mean, the three touchdowns the Cowboys scored. One was on a directly off a blocked field goal. The other one was directly off of an interception, and the other one was ill-advised pass. Which instead of what was it? Third and 19. Let me fire it in the middle of the field, right? So instead of, maybe just throwing into the dirt or whatever, running out of bounds, whatever, and having the Scottish Hammer kick it away and maybe holding them down, they scored a touchdown a few plays later. So it basically gave the Cowboys 20 frickin' points in the first half. What happens now? This is a challenge for Dable. The Giants are shell-shocked. They didn't expect the kind of beat down that they were given on Sunday, humiliated in front of national television audience. Their floors were not only exposed, but ripped wide open for everyone to feast on. Daboll was the coach of the year last year. He earned it. His team looked awful on Sunday, and he consequently earned a fair share of criticism for that. He has work to do. Well, we lost 40-0, and then the last game last year, we lost 38-7. So we've lost 78-7 in the past two games. Now, you can say all you want, but you lose by 71 points in two consecutive games. I mean, that's freaking pathetic. Absolutely freaking pathetic. Let's see here. Daboll said the Giants have to look at Sunday, own it, and then move on. For me, one of the hallmarks of great coaches is consistency. Can they pull a struggling team up by the bootstraps and then get them pointed in the right direction? Well, I certainly hope they do. Says a year ago, the Giants quickly moved on from players like, says, what will Daboll and the Giants do about some of the flaws that Dallas exploited? Now, a year ago, right? The Giants quickly moved on from players like Kenny Golladay, David Sills, as well as linebackers Austin Calitro and Tay Crowder. They got the issues with them, whatever it was. Kenny Golladay doesn't get separation. Calitro and Tay Crowder were in the middle of that line. The porous run defense that the Giants had. They moved on from them. Said when it became apparent that those players could not do the job. So are those personnel changes that can and should be made this year? Going to be interesting to see. Very interesting to see that. Of course, they go on. There are calls from the fan base for the Giants to sign Justin Pugh to take over for Glowinski. And Pugh wants to start. He definitely wants to start. He says, I want to go someplace. And he said he wouldn't mind coming back to the Giants. But, the problem is 33. Pugh is 33. He's coming off a major knee injury. He just began working out for teams in August, even if he signed. He told me a couple of weeks ago that he would need a ramp-up period of a few weeks before he would be comfortable playing in a game. So even if he signed this week, the earliest he might be able to play is week 4 or 5, and that might be optimistic. And by that time, the Giants could be 0-5 and pretty much almost out of the playoffs. Plus, do we know of certain that coming off of a torn ACL with no spring or summer practice that Pugh is better than any of the Giants have? There is no guarantees of that because there's no game film of him. There's no spring training or preseason game tape of him or nothing like that. Then he says maybe the Giants give Marcus McKeithen a chance, but the 5th-round pick missed all of last season with the torn ACL and played a handful of snaps in one preseason game. He would be a complete unknown. Then they go Joshua Zudu. Maybe, but he might have to play left tackle on Sunday if Andrew Thomas and Matt Peart can't go. Shane Lemieux. The Giants prefer to have the untested McKeithen active against Dallas. Replacing Neal isn't really an option either, especially with the health of Thomas and Peart. What other tackle you got? One of the guys on the practice squad, you're going to put him in there and you think you're going to be better than Neal? I don't think so. Let's see here. Again, Izudu may have to play left tackle. Jalen Mayfield and Jalen Thomas are on the practice squad, but are those better options? No. For now, at least the Giants likely have to continue to give Neal opportunities to see if he can improve from last season. Maybe he will prove that he can't. In this case, he probably plays right guard in 2024 after the Giants draft or sign a replacement. On defense, rookie cornerback Trey Hawkins committed a couple of penalties against the Cowboys. Those are the types of hiccups Martindale spoke about with rookies and cornerbacks. Yep. I don't think the Giants are in a great position to abandon the plan to start Hawkins, nor do I think that they should after one game with mixed results. Bottom line is there aren't a lot of obvious, easy changes the Giants can make. And, the one thing is, unfortunately, it's a shame, but, you got guys in there, some of them you might have to, take your lumps with. And unfortunately, especially now with injuries, nothing can derail a season faster than injuries. You only have so many capable offensive linemen. And if, Peart getting injured or Thomas can't go, you got to put, Zudu over there. Now you have almost, good quality, if you want to call it that, backup offensive lineman. You got like almost nobody. And then, of course, another couple of injuries, and basically, and they said you got to, riding with the cornerbacks, Hawkins and Banks. Banks did pretty good, but you might have to ride with Hawkins. He might make a hiccup here or there or so. So, unfortunately, the Giants don't have a lot of options in some of these positions. Obviously one thing that's going to be huge would be injuries. Let's say hopefully Giants can stay healthy. I said nothing's going to derail the Giants season faster than injuries, but and nothing will derail a season faster. Also, they lose to the Cardinals this week. This game here coming up is a big game. Not saying they got to win 40-0, but they got to win by 1 point, 21-20, whatever. They need to come out of this week and here 1-1 and saying, oh, we can do it. We can win a game, even if it's against the lowly Cardinals. But they lose here and they go 0-2. They're really staring 0-3 right in the face. Especially they play the 49ers on the road, on 4 days rest. And that might be asking a bit too much. And then the Giants start off 0-3, if hopefully not. But then the boo birds and the naysayers and the negative Nancy's are really going to come out big time. All right, guys. Well, it's been 1 hour and almost 1 minute. So whoever spent any time listening to me, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Or if anybody spends any time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I can use all the support I get. Guys, thanks. Once again, thank you. And as always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants.